Hi people, Moreno Eisenberg here again. It's story time again. And it's time for another story, local story with an occult slash haunted background. Just give me a second while I take a sip of Red Bull. Yeah, so let me get down to it. This video I think is going to be a short one. There is, here in Suriname, there is a nature reserve called Pepper Pot. Long story short, it used to be a plantation, like so many other plantations, like so many other places here. And yeah, since I'm on the subject, I just like to say that the Netherlands really benefited from Suriname immensely. They had over 100 plantations here, and everything from sugar to spices to wood to anything that you can think of was simply shipped, extracted, and shipped back to the Netherlands. So yeah, in any case, Pepper Pot was a plantation similar to the rest, and I think it was renowned for being a coffee stronghold. So they produced coffee there en masse. As a matter of fact, the old coffee factory is still there, although it's completely dilapidated. It looks like a deck of cards if you know that deck of cards had holes in them, and if they were 100 years old. In any case, nowadays this plantation still looks nice, especially for visitors and people that like nature, people like myself, because at the very least partially, the Dutch have invested in preserving and maintaining the naturistic aspect of that plantation, and one way they did that is also by preserving the CEO back then. So basically the big man, if you will, or the head planter, so basically just the director. They they managed to renovate and preserve his old colonial main house, which is quite nice. You can see all of that in the description below. I'm going to share videos on this so that you guys know what it looks like of back when I went to Pepper Pot. And the nice thing is that it has a cycling trail. It's like one of those hedge mazes, but instead of a hedge maze, it's just one long trail that stretches for I think 2.5 kilometers. So it's not recommended to walk. I tried it the first time by simply walking, and I instantly regretted it, because I had to walk all the way back. So in total, I walked 5 kilometers on foot, and I tell you, it's not something you want to do. So I still owned a bicycle back then, so I went with my bicycle, and yeah, it was fun then. It was really fun. I really enjoyed myself. At certain points, the forest smells minty fresh, and it's just exhilarating. In any case, that that hiking path or hiking trail, that cycling trail, it leads to a dead end overlooking the Surinamese River and the local oil refinery, and then you have to go left in order to encounter the old CEO's colonial, that old head planter or director's his old living quarters. So his old colonial house, and yeah, again, it looks great. It really looks nice. And they turned it into some kind of resort or something. The entire place is very well maintained, but that's due to European investment and European funding. In any case, this place also has a dark background. I'm sure that if I were to go there at 2 a.m. in the morning, by the way, the park is always open. I've come to understand, or I heard from an employee, that the park is always open, so it doesn't matter. They're open every day, 24/7. I don't think there's a security guard there or anyone. I'm sure that if I went on that cycling trail at 2 a.m. in the morning or something, you're likely to encounter someone or something of a spiritual or astral nature. Yeah, so in any case, let's get down to the occult story that I'm going to tell right now. This is a true story, by the way. All of it is true and it's confirmed. Maybe I think a decade or 2 decades ago, in any case around the 50s or the 60s, a class had to give a presentation, and the children of said class, an elementary school of course, so elementary pupils, they had to do a paper and give a presentation on flowers exotic flowers, and just flowers you can find in nature overall. And the area that they chose was Pepper Pot, because there's also a flower garden there, and but it is tricky to find there, of course. In any case, there's a flower garden there, and also you can find a variety of plants there with signs and everything explaining its background, its scientific name, etc. You name it, you can find all of that in the description below so that you can really understand what the place looks like. The place is one of the very few places here that's worth visiting. I've been there multiple times to the point where I've gotten bored of it, so I'm not going there anymore. So yeah, where was I? Yeah, the class had to give a presentation, and the groundskeeper, or the person that managed the plant garden and flower garden, agreed to a request from the school to have the pupils, the elementary school pupils, to have those children simply use that garden as for their activities, to write their paper and to give their presentation, but of course under supervision of a teacher or a couple of teachers, and it was kind of like a class trip. And he also had other requests. He told the teachers that they were not under any circumstance allowed to stay after dark, so they had to leave before sundown or sunset, so before 6 p.m. They went by in the afternoon, obviously. And another thing is that the children were under no circumstance allowed to pick any flowers. They could do research, they could take pictures, they could do whatever the hell they wanted to do, but they were not under any circumstance allowed to pick flowers. And you know the way children are, especially children that are within the age class of 12 years old and 10 years old. Do you think that those kind of children are actually going to listen to authority now? And yeah, in any case, one of the children took an interest in a cocoa plant, and she picked certain cocoa seedlings from a plant, or whatever cocoa plants have, seeds or pre-evolutionary stage fruits, whatever. And she ate them, but she did all of this obviously in silence, as none of the teachers noticed anything. And the class trip was over, they went back to school, and all of a sudden the next day, I think, or even the same day in any case, shortly afterwards, that girl that ate those cocoa remnants, she started turning violent. She wasn't herself anymore. She started speaking a different language. Her eyes were completely red, so completely bloodshot. She started throwing chairs around in the classroom violently. She just lost her mind. Honestly, she went nuts. She went full berserk. And all the children were evacuated out of the classroom. The entire school was in an uproar. That girl's parents were immediately called, and guess what? The manager or groundskeeper walked past while the commotion was happening or occurring by coincidence, and he came to check out what all the fuss was about. And it was done. That's when he saw that he had to spill the beans, that the story was unavoidable, or divulging the background story was unavoidable. And when he saw the state that girl was in, he called the parents and the teachers that went on that trip aside and said that girl must have either taken a plant with her or come into contact with it or eaten it. And they asked the group that she was with, and that group did see that she ate something, but of course she asked them to be quiet about it. And the group also said they admitted to her eating cocoa plants, not specifically cocoa plants. They just admitted they didn't know that it was a cocoa plant. The other children in her group just said that it. The other children in her group just said that it. That they saw that she did take a plant, and they don't know anything else for the rest, But the girl asked them to keep it quiet. That's all they knew. And that's when the manager told the story of why he made those requests. He said that gardeners that he hires on a frequent basis, on occasion, to maintain the garden and keep everything clean from weeds and whatnot, and vermin, of course. They also made strange reports. They gave him strange reports along the lines of after sunset, when the sun starts to go down, for example, 6:30 p.m. All of a sudden they start hearing crying. They hear a girl crying, and when looking specifically in which direction, from which direction that crying was coming from, all of them stayed the same, that they also heard footsteps and so on, and they saw it coming from that cocoa plant. Keep in mind that this is not a small plant, this is a tree, honestly, it's not even a plant. But yeah, fine, a cocoa tree. And it's a fairly large tree, so scratch plant tree. And yeah, they reported that to him, and that's why he made those requests. And he also knew what the reason was, and he told the parents as well as the teachers that back in colonial days, a bush Negro girl, so a black girl, basically a girl with a slave background, walked past Pepper Pot Plantation, and the owner, I'm sorry, a bug is distracting me, the light is drawing them, whatever. Yeah, that girl walked past Pepper Pot Plantation, and the plantation owner or the plantation head had 3 sons. And in short, these sons had their way with her. They gang raped her just for no good reason. Honestly, I just get sick of this shit. This kind of stuff really pisses me off somewhat. But whatever. Stuff like that is common in a relative sense. All I know is I would have killed those guys. Period. Okay. I mean, even if it cost me my own life, but I'll be damned if I allow myself to be gang raped. But I guess they overpowered her, or she was simply not up to the fight. In any case, the 3 boys, those 3 plantation owners' boys, those 3 sons of the plantation owner or plantation head, they gang raped her, and then they buried her alive. You heard that right. They gang raped her, they had their way with her, they took turns raping her, and when they had had enough, they buried her alive while she was still alive. Guess where they buried her? They buried her near where that cocoa tree is, and that's why that cocoa tree basically is haunted. That girl can't be laid to rest properly, and she can't find peace, so she basically took up refuge in that cocoa tree, and she just roams about Pepper Pot Plantation, at least within the direct vicinity of that cocoa tree. And yeah, that's what explains all the crying and etc. upon sundown. And after hearing that story, the parents of that girl took her to a local shaman, in any case a sorcerer that could help her. And during the ritual, she puked. And guess what she puked up? She puked up cocoa seedlings. And that's when those parents understood why she was possessed by that slave girl that was buried alive. Because she ate parts of that cocoa tree, specifically the seedlings or the fruits. She ate a bit of cocoa without anyone being aware of it or having known of it. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of the story. And if this story doesn't really have a merit, this story doesn't really have a morale. There's no morale to this story. This story has merit and is credible beyond measure. Whatever. This story is 100% credible, I'm sure of it, and I have confirmed that too. And the only other thing that I can say is that if you were to demand a morale of this story from me, this story doesn't have a morale, but if you wanted me to hint at this story have a life lesson, I would simply say that this is something that's commonly known amongst people, I think, especially occultists, but I don't know, maybe some are just aren't aware of it or similar. Point is that people usually that die under violent and gruesome circumstances, or circumstances with heavy emotions, or where heavy emotions are involved, usually cannot find the rest. So just ignore the dog barking, and those people can be laid to rest properly, and they can't move on to the afterlife. And as a result, they simply drift within the direct vicinity of said occurrence. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye. See you until next story.